It's 8 o'clock now. So
good evening, Chris Hansen here from New York City, and you are live listening and watching to Have a Seat with Chris Hansen on my YouTube channel. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Happy New Year. I hope you had a wonderful holiday, as you can see. And as I announced earlier, we're going on Thursday night this week because obviously yesterday was New Year's Day. We continue our very important investigation into Onision, Gregory Jackson, and his wife Kai. Allegations of grooming, sexual misbehavior, exploitation, enticement, transmission of sexually explicit images involving underage people and targets. And tonight, we are very lucky to have with us a guest whose name is Beck. And Beck doesn't want to be identified as a quote-unquote victim. She wants to be, well, exactly what she is, which is an insider. And Beck joins us now live, and I appreciate you being here tonight, Beck. Thanks.
Thanks for having me.
So tell me how you first became aware of Onision, Greg Jackson, and Kai. How did this come about? They were obviously big-time YouTube, streamers. How did they get on your radar?
Yeah, so I originally found them on YouTube, just as you might expect. They popped up in my recommended one day, and I found Greg first. And I basically just immediately became enamored with them. I was watching their videos every day. Eventually I found Kai through Greg's channel. And from there, I saw that Kai was streaming and Greg had a Discord from Patreon.
A Discord. So he was communicating and had a whole Discord channel. What was it about Greg and Kai's streaming their shows that appealed to you? Why did you relate to it so?
I think really it was that I just never had any experience with streamers before. I never really had any experience interacting with YouTubers, especially bigger ones. So it was kind of just really exciting to see that these basically celebrities were interacting with me.
Were you flattered because these guys were celebrities and they paid attention to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember one time someone messaged me being like, would you still be interested in these people had they not been celebrities? And I honestly couldn't answer that question. I was so enamored with them.
And how old were you at the time, Beck?
I was 20.
You were 20.
Mm-hmm.
And so it went from following Onision to following Kai.
Mm-hmm.
And how did your first communication take place? Was it with Greg or Kai?
I think originally it was with Greg. We were through Discord. We just ended up being in a group chat, and I had never been in a group chat before, and I was so nervous. I remember I said like one thing the whole time. And the mods there were like, hey, like, let Beck talk. She wants to talk. And the whole time I was just like, I don't know what to say. And then later on, through you now, I started talking to Kai, like through mainly, he would notice me when I donated.
Right.
So obviously.
And so you donated, this was on the Patreon?
So yeah, Patreon for Greg and you now for Kai.
And so people know what that is. You donate when you're a follower, and people can do it on this show or any YouTube streaming show and on Patreon. Did you feel a connection with Greg?
Yeah, actually I did. I think originally I was more interested in Kai, but with Greg it was kind of, he was this, at this time, seemingly charismatic, he doesn't give a crap about what you're saying. He just says like what's on his mind. And that was really appealing to me at the time. I didn't really know any of his background. I didn't know any of the allegations or anything like that. I just saw him as this honest person who was, taking the time to talk to little old me,
Right. A whole country away, basically.
Yeah. Because he was actually across the entire country.
Right. And what about Kai? You started talking to Kai a little bit. How did that come about?
Yeah. Well, honestly, the first thing that caught my eye about Kai was just like he had a very attractive personality and obviously attractive face too. I don't think that really anymore, but at the time it was just I just wanted to be friends with him, and soon after that I wanted to be romantic with him too.
Romantic with Kai. And what got this going? Did Kai open this up to you? Did you have the first inclination, or how did this come up? Was there flirting online or in these communications?
It was, I was probably the main pursuer in it. And the way that I actually got Kai to notice me, besides donating all the time, was I wrote him a song.
You wrote Kai a song?
Yeah, I wrote him a like song because I didn't want to use the word love, obviously.
Right.
And he thought it was a beautiful song. And looking back on it, probably not the best. It was the first song that I ever wrote, but he liked it. Greg liked it. And that's actually how I started talking to Kai privately, was after that song. He said he loved it. He said that he wanted to see where things would go after that. So, yeah.
Did you feel that you were being groomed or lured in any way? I mean, obviously you were game for whatever came of this. You had an attraction to Kai. Mm-hmm. Were there any promises made? And it sounds like there was not just communication at this point with Kai, but also with Greg.
Yeah. At this point, I was talking with Greg almost every day on Discord. And I was talking with Kai mainly through text and then on his streams. And it's tough to say whether or not I was, lured into it necessarily. I think that their celebrity status definitely lured me into it. But I don't think that they were necessarily doing anything at the time, at least when we were first talking, to make me really want to be there. I think it was mostly me in the beginning.
Right. You were enamored with Kai and Greg. And did you get the sense that this was a package deal, that if you went out there to visit them in Washington State, you were visiting Kai and Greg, and whatever romanticism came out of it, that it would be involving both of them?
Yeah. I mean, again, I was mainly interested in Kai in that regard. But I wasn't opposed to the idea of dating Greg. I kind of knew that it came with the deal. I'd seen a little bit of what they had done in the past, and they had three-way relationships. It was never just Kai having a girlfriend. So I was okay with that. I was really, really willing to do it for Kai.
And what was it that made you so committed to doing this for Kai?
I don't know. I guess I just felt a spark or some sort of connection. It's hard to say looking back on it because it was so long ago. We're looking at 2 years and probably 2 years, 4 months now ago.
Right.
But I just felt really, really excited whenever I would see Kai streaming. I would get really excited when I, knew that I was going to get to talk to Greg on Discord. I don't know, just generally being enamored with them.
How many other Becks do you suppose were out there at the time having these same conversations with Greg and Kai?
See, that's tough, because I do wonder sometimes if Kai was doing it at least because I was donating so much. I never donated crazy amounts of money compared to what other people did, but I did donate probably about $200 or $300 total. $200
and $300 total to Greg and Kai?
Mainly to Kai, but I'm pretty sure they have a joint bank account or something.
Right.
So just to both.
And it wasn't like you had a bunch of money either now or then.
No, I am a student. I work in a dog kennel.
Right. And was that money worth it looking back?
No, definitely not. If that was the reason that they started talking to me, then I don't think I would have ever wanted to talk to them in the first place. But at the time, I was just so into it. I just wanted to talk to them, and I would have done whatever it took to talk to them.
You ultimately went to Washington State, to their home, and stayed with them for a period of time. How did this come about, and whose idea was that?
Right. So after Kai told me that he liked me and he wanted to see where things were going, a couple days after, Greg messaged me on Twitter saying, "How would you like to come out to do camera work with us?"
Camera work.
Yeah, camera
And
work.
what did you have any training as a photographer, a videographer?
No, absolutely none. So I knew it was just an excuse to have me over.
Was it a ruse?
We did do videos together, but we definitely spent more time together not doing videos. So I think, it is also important to note that before I was flown out, someone who was actually a former mod on the server decided to contact Greg and told him that I used to smoke weed. Something that I had stopped as soon as I started talking to Kai, and ironically don't do now. I'm sober. But
And why was that significant that a moderator told Greg that you had smoked pot?
Well, from their previous relationship, I'm pretty sure that's the reason that they decided to break up with their previous girlfriend.
And which girlfriend was that?
That was Billy.
Billy.
Yeah. And
so that was their stated reason for breaking up with Billy, was
because she smoked weed and lied about it, apparently. But I've heard from other people that Kai didn't care that his friends smoked weed. It was just his partners, which was such a weird thing.
It sounds like it was more of an excuse to move on to the next person.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple days before I was flown out, that happened, and Greg texted me saying something along the lines of, "We will still fly you out, but we're not going to have you after this, and this is going to be your last time seeing us." And
what did you make of that? And that seems kind of odd, huh? They're going to fly you out, but they're only going to let you stay for so long because they had a report that you smoked weed. It sounds like a mind game to me. Yeah. And I remember Greg told me, "Well, if you really want to say you're sorry, then you need to do something big." So something big.
Yeah. So
were they setting you up to comply with what they wanted to do, do you think? Were they trying to soften you up or make you dependent upon them?
Yeah, I don't know. I think what I ended up doing was I ended up writing another song for Kai and Greg, saying I'm sorry, like, because the main reason I have crazy ankle problems that have been mostly fixed since. But the main reason that I was actually smoking weed was to help with the pain of that. So I wrote the song kind of saying, like, please forgive me for how I've dealt with that.
And so they fly you out there. Who picks you up at the airport?
It was Greg.
Greg. And how did that go? Was it a warm welcome? Was it?
Yeah. No, it was really warm. Greg was really, really nice to me, warm to me the whole time, which was, it kind of seemed like he had forgiven me for my horrible crime of smoking weed, but Kai didn't. So the whole trip, Kai was really, really just cold to me.
Was there anything romantic during that trip with you and Kai?
No.
How did Kai treat you during that trip, during your visit?
Just awfully. Like, he never wanted to be in the same room with me. He apparently was talking shit about me with Sarah, who was there at the time, behind my back.
Just to back up a minute, I think most people know the story, but Sarah, who we did interview on this very show, was very young and flew out and lived with Greg and Kai and had a relationship with Greg and Kai, and looking back is very upset about that and feels that she was a victim of enticement, grooming, and unwanted sexual advances, even though she complied with a lot of this. She was very young at the time, 16, 17 years old. She was living there when you spent that week visiting Greg and Kai's home. What interaction did you have with Sarah at the time?
Well, Sarah was actually really, really nice to me the whole time.
Right. Did she seem distressed? Did she seem comfortable, uncomfortable? Did she seem into it, not into it? How would you characterize her?
She seemed stressed, definitely. She was kind of also given sort of a half role as nanny. And she was, we had a talk one time in the guest house that she lived out in. And she was talking about how she did at one point really like Greg and Kai, and then they were just like, Greg especially was just so cruel to her the whole time, and she kind of confided in me about that.
Right. And what did she say about how cruel Greg was to her?
Well, he just like, he was just mean to her. He would make her cry. Like, he would make her just feel really bad about herself for things that she shouldn't have felt bad about. And Greg also kind of really wanted to stress to me, like almost to the point of overdoing it, that there was nothing going on between him and Sarah.
Did you believe that, or did Sarah tell you otherwise?
At the time, I believed it.
Now come to find out, based upon Sarah's firsthand account, there was something going on with the two of them.
Yeah. Well, Sarah was 16
at the same time.
Yeah. It was.
Did you feel bad for her?
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you think she was being used?
Hmm?
Did you think she was being used, Sarah?
Yeah. Well, Sarah's actually the main reason that I'm coming out with this.
Right.
Because I'm not a victim, I'm a witness of what happened, and I want her to have as much credibility as possible. And she was nothing but kind to me the whole time.
Did she warn you to get away, to not be a part of this whole scene at all?
No, not at the time.
Did she seem scared or frightened?
I think stress is really the right word.
That's
She was very stressed about the whole thing.
And when you say that she took the role as a nanny to the children, what was she doing? And was this something she did willingly, or was this something that you thought she was forced into doing?
I'm not sure if she did it willingly or if she was forced into it, but basically if Greg and Kai were streaming at the same time or recording videos, then it was her job to watch the kids. And it was her job to like clean up. Greg did almost no cleaning. He did the dishes sometimes. It was really up to Kai and Sarah to take care of the kids.
And set the scene for me in this house. What was it like?
It was, I mean, it was a really nice house.
Right.
But it was definitely dirty. You could definitely tell that there was only one person in charge of keeping it clean, and that person was already very overworked.
And that was Kai or Sarah?
That was Kai.
Kai.
Yeah. Sarah helped when she could, but it was really up to Kai to do all of that. And I think what bothered me the most about that trip was how they treated their animals. When I first came into the house, I came to talk to the animals, say hi to Dobbs and Lulu. And I saw that their water bowl was dry. And then I looked at the guinea pig tank, which is small and in the sun and covered in poop. And their water bottle was empty. So clearly these animals were being...
So they weren't caring very well for their pets.
No.
What? Tell me about the videos. The reason that they said you were coming out there was to shoot some videos, to do videos. Did you actually do videos when you were there?
Yeah. So Greg and I filmed it was probably 4 videos total, and then one was taken down. I don't remember why. But in the first video that we made, it was us covering ourselves in shaving cream and acting like idiots.
Were you dressed at the time?
No, he had me stripped down to my bikini and he wore a pair of underwear.
And you covered yourself in shaving cream.
Yeah, and so
And
another
did what?
thing
Did what exactly?
so when he was putting the shaving cream on me, I was like, okay, can you do my back? He's like, sure. And he felt up my ass when he was putting shaving cream on me.
Did you welcome this?
I didn't necessarily welcome it. I wasn't uncomfortable with it because I was still kind of under the pretext that, like, well, if this is happening, then maybe there is a chance that I'll get to be in a relationship with them. So I wasn't uncomfortable, but looking back, it definitely wasn't something that you should be doing when you have a partner that you're supposedly currently monogamous with.
But you were 20, so you were of age.
Yep.
You came out there willingly.
Yeah.
You're just saying that you didn't give him consent to make that move on you.
No, I definitely wasn't asking for it. That's for sure.
Right.
And
was that inappropriate in your eyes?
Looking back on it, definitely.
And was he making a sexual advance towards you?
I don't know. Probably.
So what did you do in the video? You're stripped down to your bikini. You're covered in shaving cream. What happens then?
So we run around screaming for a little bit. We're doing weird things. We go on a mini motorcycle, and then another incident that occurred was the power bomb that he did. The power bomb is a wrestling move. And he was like, hey, do you want to do a power bomb? We were both wrestling fans. So I was like, oh yeah, sure. Not thinking about what a power bomb actually was. Right. So he picked me up, had my crotch in his face, and then slammed me down onto the trampoline.
Did this make you uncomfortable?
Not at the time, actually, but looking back on it, it was another sketchy thing that happened. And I remember trying to bringing it up with Kai, kind of jokingly at the dinner table.
Right.
And Kai was immediately like, we don't talk about that.
We don't talk about that, meaning his sexual advance towards you.
Yeah, or, whatever that was.
Right. Kai said, we don't talk about that. And what did you think that to mean at the time?
Say that again?
What did you think she meant by that at the time?
I think he was probably just really, really uncomfortable with the idea of Greg doing that. I think that he was just looking back on it. I think I understand why Kai was hostile towards me.
Right.
Because I was the other woman. And I was potentially coming in between him and Greg. But
initially, you thought that Kai was interested in you.
Yes.
Which would have been okay, but then she was upset that you were being focused on by Greg.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a weird dynamic.
Yeah. I don't think Kai is... I think Kai is monogamous, and I don't think that having a third person in their relationship was his idea.
Was Kai driving this, or was Greg driving it and sometimes acting as if he were Kai?
I think Greg was probably driving it more because he was the one. I'm sure. I don't know this for sure, but perhaps he was the one who told Kai to message me that he was interested in me and wanted to see where things went.
Right.
He was the one who bought plane tickets for me, which, by the way, when I told Kai about this is where the tone kind of changed, I think. I told Kai over text, I was so excited, we're gonna get to meet each other. How awesome is that? And the first thing that Kai said was, ugh, why doesn't he ever tell me these things?
So she didn't even know, I'm sorry, Kai didn't even know that you were coming and Greg had purchased the tickets.
Yeah.
Looking back, what does that say to you?
It's ridiculous. Like it was definitely Greg pushing these things. If Kai didn't even know that I was coming over at first, like if I was the one who was breaking the news to Kai that I was coming over to his house, I don't know.
What about this video? Did this video air on YouTube?
Yeah.
And did you become somewhat of a celebrity when this aired because you were in it?
I definitely got a lot of attention. I don't think I was prepared for necessarily the amount of negative attention that I would have gotten.
And what was the negative attention, and who was it from?
It was just from comments. People were calling me fat. People were calling me ugly. People were calling me annoying and all of that, which is pretty standard internet stuff, I think. But I just wasn't prepared. I think that looking back on it, it's definitely given me a thicker skin. So I have him to thank.
A hard way to get a thicker skin. Let me ask you this, Beck. You talked about the animals not being well cared for. There were 2 children in that house, still are, with all this swirling about, these allegations of impropriety and potentially illegal things going on there. Sexually charged environment. We've heard stories about the kids being actually in the same room when this sexual contact took place with people from outside their marriage. Were the kids being cared for properly? Do you worry about the kids today based upon what you saw and what you hear about what's going on in that house?
I think the best way to put it would be that Kai was basically a single parent. And Kai really, from what I saw, really cared about his kids a lot.
Kai did.
Yes, Kai.
And what about Onision?
I didn't see it as much with Greg. I think that he had Kai basically do all of the care for the kids, and he was kind of more like someone who would be around for dinner maybe, or someone who would be around occasionally when Kai was streaming, although even then Sarah was taking care of the kids. So
were the kids well cared for?
I can't say. I don't know, because I don't have any experience with kids care. I think one time there was the house was dirty, I will say that, but I don't know if that's necessarily an indication of how well the kids are being cared for.
Right.
And they were definitely on their best behavior for me, like the whole family was. So it's tough to say. I was there for such a short amount of time.
How long were you there? 4 or 5 days?
Yeah, it was probably anywhere between 5 days and a week.
5 days in a week. And how many videos did you make while you were there?
4 or 5. 3 of them are still up.
3 of them are still up today. And what about the other 2? Taken down?
Yeah. So I remember one was taken down because it accidentally showed one of the kids, but I don't remember about the other one.
And other than what you look back upon as, potentially inappropriate sexual advances during those videos, did you have any other questionable contact with Greg or Kai?
Yeah. There was one other video that we made where the premise, looking back on it, was really weird plot. The plot at the end of it was basically I was inhaling some sort of toxic chemical from the mail that he made me open, and then I go unconscious or I die or something, and then he pretends to have sex with my dead body.
Wait. So the theme of this video is, in what relationship are you to be in this video with Greg? His girlfriend, wife? Undetermined?
Just me, just Beck.
So the premise of the video is Beck opens an envelope that comes to the home of Onision. Mm-hmm. There's powder inside that you sniff.
Yeah, I open it onto my face. It comes onto my face.
It comes up. You inhale it, you pass out and then die, and then he has sex with your dead body.
Yeah, and when he was making a thumbnail, and he wanted it to make like we were almost kissing, so he leaned in as I was just laying there pretending to be lifeless. And I don't know if this was on purpose. I don't know if this was by accident, but our lips did touch.
And what was going through your mind when you were doing this? You're pretending to be dead, and he's simulating a sex act.
I was freaking out. The whole time I was just thinking, like, I don't want to break up a marriage. I don't want this. I don't want him to kiss me because this isn't what Kai wants. It wasn't necessarily that, like, I wasn't interested in Greg in the context of a three-way relationship, but I never wanted it to be like something that would break them up.
Did this video ever get broadcast?
Yeah, it did. I forget what the title is, but it was
on YouTube. It was put up on YouTube.
Yeah.
Greg simulating sex on a dead body.
He stopped at where he leaned in to kiss me, but it was implied. Oh yeah, that one was called "Watch This Before I Delete This Video." And did he delete it? No. So it's still up right now on YouTube. Still up there. Yeah.
Is that appropriate? Is that something that should be up on YouTube, given that YouTube streamers are being sanctioned frequently when they trip some unexplained algorithm using certain common words in the English language, and yet this guy's doing videos that are still up simulating sex with dead people?
I mean, he's done a lot of really weird videos. Like, he's also simulated pretending to have sex with a doll with Andy Biersack's face printed out and taped onto it. Like, this is not his first time pretending to have sex with someone on YouTube.
Now, to be fair, you were of age. You were 20 at the time, and you consented to this.
Yep.
But do you feel that you were talked into it or lured into it, or did you know what was going to happen when you started filming the video? Was it just spontaneous?
It was absolutely spontaneous.
And looking back today, were you used in these videos? Exploited?
I think so, a little bit. I mean, at the time, I was just so excited to even be on their videos.
Right. To be a part of the show.
Yeah, yeah.
These were celebrities to you.
Yeah, absolutely. That was what originally attracted me, was their celebrity status. But looking back, I don't think I would have done it again, honestly.
So a week into this, you leave.
Yeah.
And it was your scheduled time to go. You took the flight that was booked for you.
Yes.
How were things with Kai when you left? Was there any discussion, talk?
Things were the same as they were during the trip. They were cold. He didn't want to talk to me at all. He didn't respond to my texts. He was done with me.
And Greg?
At first, great. We were friends. We were, we talked a lot. We were still on Discord every day. And then I started disagreeing with him privately.
What did you disagree with him about?
Well, there was this one video in particular that he made about Shane Dawson, a YouTuber.
Right.
Who's
been critical of Greg?
No, not even. No, this was completely unwarranted. And Shane had gained some weight or something like that. And so Greg decided that it was his job to make a whole video targeting him for his weight. And I disagreed with him privately. I told him that's not right. This isn't even true. You're just using a fake body fat simulator to tell people that he's obese. So that was the first contention point for us.
So from the time you first became attracted to Greg and Kai as streamers to the time you actually communicated to them and the time you actually visited them, how much time went by? How quickly did this occur?
I started talking to them like through text and through Discord in July of 2017. I was flown out in August. And
so this moved pretty quickly. So from July to August, you went from, hey, you guys are cool, to come out and shoot a video with us.
Yeah.
Essentially 1 month.
Yeah.
That's pretty fast, don't you think?
It was really fast.
Looking back, do you feel that they hustled you out there to use you?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what does that say about Greg and Kai?
They probably go through a lot of people like me who are willing to be used. Obviously, I'm not willing to be used anymore. I've kind of grown up a little bit.
Right.
But at the time, I was just insecure and wanting attention. So they gave that to me.
This sort of blew up after you got back home, didn't it?
Yeah.
You had a disagreement over that video that Onision posted. Did he attack you?
Yeah.
Verbally?
Yeah. Things started getting tense between us in Discord. I stopped going to Discord calls.
What did he do to you on Discord?
I mean, it was nothing that I could really say, like, concretely, but the tone kind of changed. He stopped calling me back. He started calling me by my username, Gingerbeck. And so I would respond by, okay, Onision. And it just got, it kind of just escalated from there. I decided that I was going to disagree with him publicly on Twitter. And so he responded with attacking me.
So you took him on publicly on Twitter?
Yeah.
And what did he do back to you?
He decided to bring up that he had rejected me and that he didn't want me to be in his relationship and all of that, which, going back.
He rejected you, why?
What?
He rejected you, why? Because you stood up to him?
I guess. I don't know. But looking back on it, it's like, if you didn't want me, at least as a friend, then why would you have confided in me? Like, he told me.
Well, looking back now with 2+ years of knowledge and maturity, why did he do that?
He wants people to agree with him. He wants followers. And at the beginning, that's what I was.
You made it clear early on in the interview that you didn't want to be viewed as a victim in the same sense that Sarah or Billy may be victims, but he did target you in a very public way.
Yeah, he did.
How does that feel?
At the time, I cried. It really hurt. I did. It really hurt to see that someone who I viewed as a friend was attacking me and, basically going for what he knew would hurt me the most, which was that he rejected me.
So he did victimize you in a way. I know you don't want to be portrayed that way, but...
Yeah, in a way, he did.
How long did this go on, this harassment, if you will? Twitter, Discord?
We probably ended things, like, we probably stopped talking completely December 2017, maybe.
2017. So this whole thing played out from July of 2017 to December 2017.
Yeah. I mean, we texted a little bit here and there afterwards, but it was over and done with by December of 2017.
And what was it that finally made you say, I'm done, I'm out, I'm not going to deal with this?
It was when I offered to edit his book. He released a book and he was releasing it chapter by chapter on his Patreon. And I read through it and I just saw a load of grammatical errors and honestly plot errors too. But just going to talk about the grammar. It was terrible. And I told him that. I was like, this looks sloppy. And his response was to make a video called Don't Read My Books and attack me, saying you're unhelpful. You're just like, how dare you? I don't need an editor. I can do this myself. Things like that.
Who does he think he is by doing that to you, who was merely trying to help and still a little bit starstruck in spite of what a lot of people would say is abuse? Who does that?
A really bad person. Not a good person, that's for sure.
Is this somebody who should have a YouTube channel, in your opinion?
No, he should be deplatformed.
And why do you think he's still got a forum?
He has like a cult-like following.
Is this a cult?
I was definitely in his web for a while. And I don't think that I'm stupid, so I can see how other people would definitely fall into the same trap.
Looking back with 2+ years of perspective, how much do you blame Onision and Kai, and how much do you blame yourself for getting wrapped up in this?
I mean, I blame myself a lot because I was the one who was originally pursuing. But if Greg hadn't basically love bombed me at the house, then I wouldn't have continued to let myself be abused or be attacked, rather.
What do you mean by that?
At the house, he was really nice to me. He told me things like, here's another thing that was actually very similar to Sarah's case. He told me that he didn't feel like he was talking to a 20-year-old.
That you were an older soul?
Yeah, that it felt like he was talking to this, someone who was the same age as me. And
was he grooming you?
No. I mean, I don't know. I think I was too old to be groomed.
But he was working you, right?
He was. I mean, he definitely.
I don't put words in your mouth. I'm just trying to understand the whole thing. But love bombing sounds like to me.
Yeah. I mean, I think it would be up to other people to decide. I just want to give the facts of what happened. And another thing that he told me that at the time made me feel really close to him was that, and this is something that Kai still doesn't know, but Kai was upstairs with Sarah, doing the Naruto run, which is, just a silly run. They were just being kids basically together. And Greg looked at me and said, if Kai were acting like this when I first met him, I wouldn't have married him.
What? Wait. So Kai is upstairs playing around with Sarah.
Yeah. And
what are they doing?
They're Naruto running. It's
What is that?
I don't know how to explain it without doing it. It's basically where you throw your hands back and you run around. It's from an anime. And he was, just
a goofy thing.
Silly. Huh?
A goofy thing?
Yeah, it's just a goofy thing.
So not necessarily sexual or anything like that. Just
no.
Thing.
No.
And Greg says to you what?
Greg says to me, if Kai were acting like this when we first met, I wouldn't have married him.
Do you think he was serious, or do you think he was playing you?
I don't know. I think that their marriage is pretty damaged and pretty strained, and honestly.
Do you think it's really a marriage, or do you think this is all about making money on social media, YouTube, and formerly Patreon?
I think for a really long time, because of Greg's monetary success, Kai probably felt trapped. Because if Kai left, Kai would take the kids, obviously, because Greg doesn't take care of them. And I think that's probably one of the main reasons that they're still together.
Do you think Kai is truly in the transgender process, or do you think this is all one big gimmick to bring in clicks, eyeballs, views?
I think Kai is trans. Absolutely. I remember one time in particular, Kai was in a really, really bad mood, and Greg was kind of just screwing around, making jokes, and Kai was like, "I'm having really bad chest dysphoria right now. Can you please stop?" So I think it's definitely real.
All right, but do you think the relationship has been and is today based on financial matters?
I think so.
Staying together for money.
I think so.
What do you think should happen to Onision and Kai?
I think Greg should go to jail.
Why do you think that?
Well, from what I've heard from Sarah, that's enough alone.
Yeah.
Grooming a minor, not to mention all of the abuse allegations that he already has from all of his exes. And I don't honestly know where I stand with Kai. I think that Kai was complicit in all of this. But I don't know where Kai should go from this.
Do you think Kai's a victim as well?
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard this from other young women who have had experience living in this house, that it's, and some say that the young women were welcomed there by Kai because it was a diversion from whatever was going on with Greg.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough to say.
Does that make you sad for Kai in a way, even though she's complicit, even though Kai, even though he is complicit in some of this?
Yeah.
And engaged in some grooming and potentially enticement and trafficking in sexually explicit materials with underage.
I do feel bad, but at the same time, as more and more stuff comes out about him, like, it's becoming harder and harder to feel for him, Like, I think originally he was a victim. I think he was originally pulled into it. But then from there, I think he became part of the problem as well.
Do you think Greg uses Kai to lure young women like yourself to that home in Washington State and into relationships online in which graphic photos are exchanged?
Yeah, actually. I mean, that's how I was lured in. That's how I know other people were. It always starts out with a relationship with Kai.
And when was the last time you watched any of these videos you made with Greg?
I watched them pretty recently to get screen grabs. I hadn't watched them in years.
And give me a sense of what you felt, what you thought when you looked back at that video from 2+ years ago that you made with Greg.
It was a mixture of embarrassment for how I was acting in the videos, and also kind of sadness, because I was seeing a friendship that I no longer had, and a friendship that was ultimately based on some sort of face that Greg put up for me.
How did this change you?
I don't know. I think I'm definitely a lot more suspicious of people now. I definitely have a thicker skin. And now I no longer see celebrities in quite the same light. I see that they are people too, and people are just can be just as nasty.
And what do you say to Sarah and the other young women who've appeared on this show before you tonight as we're here live?
Well, I believe you and I support you. And I think you're all really strong for coming forward.
And you hope Greg is prosecuted?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Is there anything else that you want people to know about Greg, about Kai, about their situation?
There was just one other small incident that I'd like to briefly bring up. It's about their animals. Greg was very insistent that you can feed dogs a vegetarian diet, and I looked into it. You can, but you have to be really careful about what you give. And Greg was not careful about what he fed his dogs at all. He didn't treat his dogs well, by the way. Like, they never got walks. They were filthy. They stunk. I had to bathe them. But what really, really bugged me was how they fed their dogs. So, for example, one night we were having tortillas, burritos, and for dinner, for the dog's dinner, what he did was he threw tortilla wraps on the floor for them.
What does that say about a human being who treats companion animals in that regard?
It says nothing but bad things about them. That's really...
And granted, you are an animal lover and are going into veterinary sciences, but still, that says something about a human being.
Yeah.
Am I wrong on this?
No, you're absolutely not. It's just, I don't want to call it abuse, but he was definitely neglecting his animals, which was just, it was so sad to see. And like when I washed the dogs, the water just came out dark brown, like they all stunk. You could tell Lilu especially was attention starved, like she was barking all the time. And she stopped barking when you come and pet her because that's what she wanted. She never got it.
Beck, like the other young women who have appeared on the show to talk about Onision and Kai before you, you've got about 100 other things you could be doing tonight, studying, who knows what else, besides having a seat with me on this program. Why was it important for you to appear here and tell your story?
I want to legitimize the other victims. I want to, especially for Sarah, come forward with my story, not for myself, because I've gone almost 2.5 years without telling anyone this.
Why now? Why here?
Well, this is a platform to do it, and I want it to have an impact. And I want Sarah especially to be legitimized.
All right. Well, Beck, thank you very much for being with me here tonight. I appreciate it very much. We will stay in touch with you and we will stay on this story. So good luck with the rest of your studies. I understand you're finishing up in the next few months.
Yeah.
Good luck to you. And thank you very much. Brave young lady. All right, everyone, thank you for tuning in tonight to Have a Seat with Chris Hansen. We'll be back next week at our regular time, Wednesday at 8 Eastern. And just a side note here, you know, I want you to all know that we are very focused on this mission, whether it's Onision, Gregory Jackson, and Kai, or any of the other cases that we're looking at right now, and there will be many more to come. In terms of the FBI investigation, well, I can tell you it's continuing. I know people want answers, people want results, but the facts are these. It takes a while to work up a case. It takes time when somebody like me gets information that has to be shared with law enforcement. Usually it's the reverse. Usually I'm trying to get information from law enforcement, and I am in this case. We also have come off a very long holiday that fell in the middle of the week. So that slows a lot of different things down. I will stay on top of it. You have my word. We also have been maintaining contact with all of the young women who've appeared in this program, trying to help them as best as we can find the assistance they need to get through this and cope. It has become a rather large self-help group in a way. And I hope this is cathartic. I hope it helps, and I hope it helps folks heal. In terms of YouTube, well, you know, I'm trying. I would love to see Susan Wojcicki appear on this program. I'm not sure why she won't. Some rather lame reasons coming from the media folks at YouTube. Initially, I thought it was pretty promising that the interview would happen. But I'm going to keep the pressure on there too. There are some very serious questions YouTube has to answer. Why are some of the interviews with the victims, the young women, not monetized? Why are they sanctioned? Why? Yet Onision can do a video where he exposes his genitalia, and that's not sanctioned? I want one person to tell me how that makes sense. One person. And that person is Susan Wojcicki at YouTube. So I'm not sure what the hesitation is. This is about the fairest format you could have, probably the most professional, at least, the most experienced on YouTube, most anywhere else. And I apologize if that's, giving myself too much credit, but I've been around a while. I know how to handle this. And I can only surmise that they're afraid for some reason. I mean, why do you not monetize one of these videos? Some are not. What are we trying to do? We're not out to make money per se anyway, but it's a question that they need to answer. I mean, is Onision making them that much money? I mean, he doesn't have the audience that he wants to. Are we making them money? I don't know what the algorithm is. I assume a little bit. Anyway, that's it for tonight. Thank you again. We'll see you next Wednesday, 8 Eastern. Beck, thanks again.
Yeah,
Thank you all for
you.
tuning in. See you soon.